Hey gang, Joyce with Skipping Cast Farms here. I first tried my hand at a black soldier fly larvae container 15 years ago, and I made it out of a 5-gallon bucket and some flexible conduit, and some of that has disappeared over the years, but I found this lid and I've been using it as a lid on top of my chicken tractor manure collecting bucket. So I had kept the T. I had already drilled the hole and it fits. I just cut a piece of cardboard off of that old messed up box that was sitting over here and rolled it up inside here. Now if you'll notice, the T gives the female a chance to land, come in, and then crawl down inside. That hole's about 3 times taller and 4 times wider than she is. But those corrugations are what she likes to lay in. So I want to keep the vermits out as best I can. So this is how I'm going to do it. In the meantime, I had gotten some bird seed that I hadn't used last winter. I added just a little bit of sugar water that was left over from something else, and I'm letting this ferment. The seed's swelling, and so there's dry on the top. It's not all submerged. There is water there. You can see a little bit of water, right here. But it's not submerged. So when you turn it on an edge like that, you'll have a little wet area here, but you have a big dry area here. And that's what we're kind of looking for. What is a mama's black soldier fly looking for? She's looking for something that stinks, that's rotting, that's fermenting. That's what this grain will send out. The scent will go out this T connector. She'll come in the end of the T connector, go down the hole, go, oh man, this is a great place. I can lay my eggs right here in the corrugated. When the larvae hatch, they'll drop down and they'll land on the grain, and they'll have a place to grow and feed. And the ultimate in a container is then you develop it in such a way that is self-harvesting. This bucket is just going to be to get it started. This is not the original bucket that I had designed, which did have a way to harvest. This is just a 5-gallon bucket, like a paint bucket. In the last few years, the buckets that you can get at Walmart are just not. Yeah, they're half the price, but they're only a quarter of the quality. And so I've gone to finagling paint buckets or stucco buckets or whatever. Well, it's not food grade. Well, if you'll notice, the only bucket at Walmart or any place else that's food grade is the white ones. Now ask yourself why. It's because the plastics are all the same. The only difference are the pigments. And if they have a different pigment, they're going to have a different certification for food grade. And most of the time, the pigment is some form of carbon black when you're talking about black or gray. So elemental carbon, it's like the lead carbon in your pencil, is not toxic to anybody in any way, shape, or form. That's what we use carbon filters for, right? Now this is a container I had built a few years ago from one of those, I guess they call it their 27 quart. And you can see I've got the T on it. I upgraded it a little bit so the ends are cut so it wouldn't drip water inside. Now I've taken the guts out of the end of it for the self-harvesting. I'll show you that in a minute, but I'm still in the process of cleaning this one up, and this had a bunch of old manure in it that's pretty much dried. There were a few dry larvae in here. You can see where the T came down, and on this end you can see where the two ramps come out, and I'll show you how those are going to fit. The challenge that I had with this not harvesting properly is, even though the lid fits tight, the larvae were able to get just a tiny wedge between these two, and they ended up coming out in these little gaps here instead of coming up the ramp. What I'm going to do with my new modification, haven't decided everything about the lid on it yet, but this is the yolk that let's do it this way. I'll just show it to you. If you look over there, you can see, well, let's get a little closer. You can see the two holes that I just showed you, one there and one there. That's where this fits, okay? And that T in the middle goes down to a vertical pipe that harvests into a jar. The mistake that I made when I did the harvesting ramps was I enclosed them part of the way and I opened them part of the way. And I think that confused the light and the dark, and the light and the dark kind of confused the larva a bit. So this is the top portion. What I'm going to go ahead and do is cut the top open on both of them all the way up. And then I'm going to have some kind of just a block or bracket or something to hold these up off the bottom so they don't get crudted up. And I can just migrate them as I go, as it fills. But I haven't emptied it yet and cleaned it out yet. I want to use that manure or that compost, because it was from chicken manure, so it'll have a lot of phosphorus in it. It's been well aged. It's several years old, so I'm going to finish cleaning that out here in the next little bit, and I'll use the manure from here to go directly into my garden, because I've got some heavy feeders. I've got taters, I've got tomatoes, I've got sweet potatoes, I've got cucumbers, I've got peppers, I've got squash, I've got watermelon, and I'm going to be putting in some moringa, and I want them to have access to a little bit more phosphorus because there's not a lot of phosphorus in my soil. And I have a whole other garden plot that I've done a couple of videos about because it's been a decent sized project. I don't know if you can see it from here, but that's what, where's my finger? That's what's back here. Those cattle panels are the butternut squash. They've done really well. It's a learning process. Butternut squash does have its own, little tendrils that'll tie itself up, but it tends to grow like watermelon. It tends to grow along the ground and not up. So I started out with some tomato clips just to kind of get it going. And what I'm finding that's working really, really well for the butternut squash is just when I'm finished feeding the chickens in the morning, I just come out here, do a quick walk around it, see where they're situated, where the tendrils are, and move the tendrils where I want the vines to grow, because I want the vines to grow. You know, I'm closer to 70 than 65, right? So if I can harvest standing up instead of reaching down, oh yeah, big bonus. And so that's the idea. The idea is to get the butternut squash to grow vertically. I can't remember if you can eat the leaves on butternut squash. I know you can for the sweet potatoes. And the sweet potatoes are getting off to a little bit slower start, but that's what I'm going to be doing here. The sweet potatoes are here, and they'll be growing up those hog panels. And then, and people will say, but you're going to limit your sweet potato harvest. Well, that may be true. It may reduce my harvest a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be an impact. Number one, I've got that row basically from here all the way down is sweet potatoes. So there's 20 or 30 plants. That's a lot of taters, at least for a first run, right? Number one. Number two, this row is built up, so it's been hilled up, but it's also been double broad forked. So it's real loose and relatively loamy for my soil, right there where the base roots are. So it should be able to get a pretty good cluster of potatoes right there at the base of the vine. In the meantime, I can eat the vine leaves as well. So just trying to not stack enterprises like Joel talks about, but in a manner, it's the same principle. It's the same thought principle. I want to stack returns. So, for example, if I've got comfrey, and I'll just turn around. This is my medicinal comfrey. So if I've got medicinal comfrey here, the uses are fairly similar to the Russian comfrey Bocking 4 I've got. But I've got comfrey. I've been feeding the Russian to my chicken that was injured, and her hip or leg or whatever is doing much better. Look, she's there, she's standing, she's messing with herself, and for the first 3 or 4 days she didn't get out of a crouch, and she ate as much of that comfrey as she did the layer feed, if not more, because they know what they need. She's not eating as much comfrey now. I'm not feeding it to her twice a day. I'm feeding to her once a day. Maybe if she doesn't eat it, then I'll hold off a little bit. But so it's medicinal. It's called bone knit for a reason, right? Over the last several hundred years or however long. So it's medicinal, number one. Number two, you can use it as fodder. It grows more biomass than just about anything else per acre. Sheep will eat it, chickens will eat it. You have to train them to, but the Russian is more palatable to them, and my Russian ones are over here under this tree. And so it is also an awesome mulch. So I don't know if we can see from here, so I don't have to mess with the gate. Let's see here. Yeah, you can see this, this right here, that dark, that was green comfrey when I put it down. It decomposes very quickly. So I had some extra seed stalks from my medicinal, did not want it to go to seed. And so I just took the stalks, and let me take it back out of Zoom. And I just laid it down there in front of the cucumbers and the sweet taters. One of the things comfrey offers that virtually no other plant does is bioavailable silica. What's the big deal? Silica's in every rock. Well, just about. SiO2 is silicon dioxide, that's quartz, and it's just about universal everywhere, but it's not bioavailable. But if I don't know if I made a video on it last year or not. I had a bunch of grasshoppers over here on my medicinal comfrey, and they were eating on the comfrey pretty good. You can kind of see that here, right there on this leaf here, right? But it didn't take over. What happened? The silica inside the leaves literally wear out the mandibles of the grasshoppers. So they may come in and they may eat on it and they may do some damage, but they're not going to wipe it out. In the meantime, though, the comfrey just did a number on your grasshoppers. So guess what they're not going to do a number on, right? So that's how you need to think. That's how I have to think. I have a very small place. I've got to get multiple benefits from each thing I try to do. My most important livestock are the microbes and the ecology in the soil. I understand that, and I work from that foundational mentality. But you know, growing lettuce, growing spinach, growing Swiss chard, I've tried it several times. They just don't grow for me. But that doesn't mean I want to give up on good, healthy greens. So I just decided to do it without doing it. And I'm rambling, but I'll try and keep it short. This row right here, that's the edge of the walkway. It is not in the grow bed. That is the edge of the walkway, and that is plantain, and that has not been weeded. All the grass and everything else has, but the plantain I'm allowing it to go to seed. Why? It's more nutritious than spinach, turnip greens. They taste more like mustard greens, and they're a little on the tough side, so you don't eat them raw. I don't plant them. They grow wild. I can just chop them off and they'll come back. My sheep love them. That's the first thing they eat out of my pasture is the plantain. So I don't have to grow it. I now have greens. I've got the backing for Russian comfrey. I don't eat it all the time. But if you know what you're doing, and you're not stupid, and you've done your own research, you can do what I do. I eat it like spinach, and it tastes better than spinach. And it is a superfood, basically. So, once or twice a week, who needs multivitamins anymore? Oh, well, what's wrong with multivitamins? Nothing, unless you can't get a hold of them anymore, right? So, that's what I mean when I say what you think doesn't matter, but how you think is key. And you need to know where you want to end up. When you get started on a trip, you already know your destination. Because if you don't, you're going to be lost the whole time you're gone. And the same thing is true with your property. If you don't have a good idea of exactly where you want to be and what you want to be doing, you're going to be lost the whole time you're trying to manage your property, and it's not going to be successful, and especially if you have to go into debt to buy the land. Overwhelming majority of time, within 5 to 7 years, somebody else owns that land. It's just the way it is. Because people don't start with the proper management mentality. And anybody wants to learn, holistic management is a teaching system that teaches you how to think. It's a little bit highbrow. It's a little bit overrated in my estimation as they present it. It's like college. I mean, 90% of the stuff you learned if you've been to college, I can attest, 90% of the stuff you learned, you just learned to have to learn. And that's kind of how holistic management is. But if you take the general principles and the terminology and the thought processes and you tie them all together, oh my goodness, it is an amazing system. So I've rambled, I always do. So with that, gang, we've gone from black soldier fly larvae to holistic management and everything in between, 20 minutes or less. With that, gang, I wish you blessings for the day. And whatever you do, just keep chasing the dream.